The Last Dance was a documentary about Michael Jordan by Michael Jordan. Oh, he didn't direct it, Jason Hehir did, and he was great. But MJ had to agree for this thing to be made, so naturally some things were left out. Some were to protect Jordan's image off the court, then some things on the court I was genuinely shocked they left out. In this video, we'll break down the top 6 things that were left out of The Last Dance. Hey, it's Casey, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe and hit notification bells. We're still making 5 videos per week, even though The Last Dance is over and we don't have games. Also, a new drop time for videos Monday through Friday at 5 Eastern. The number 6 thing they left out, the Conman game. Jeff Van Gundy was the coach of the Knicks in the 90s, the Bulls' rival. In early January 1997, he made a comment that pissed off Michael Jordan. He called him a con man. Here's part of that quote.
His way is to befriend them, to soften them up, make them feel like he cares about them, and then he goes out there and physically tries to destroy him.
I can't believe they didn't include this in The Last Dance. There were so many examples of Jordan kind of making stuff up to feel disrespected. This was straight disrespect. First of all, Van Gundy crossed the line when he said con man. He was accusing Jordan of being a fake friend to guys he genuinely cared about. And Jordan was so angry that when the Knicks came to Chicago later that month, he went off. The Bulls won by a single point. MJ had 51 points. He took it personally. He made sure the guy he was guarding didn't score, and he just kept coming over and over and over. He stared down Van Gundy during the game. He cursed him out afterward. Van Gundy didn't walk the comments back after the game either.
I believe everything I said. You have to go at him as hard as he goes at you, and he uses every weapon to his advantage that he can. Some physical, some mental.
Jordan downplayed it to the media after the game, but years later he said, yeah, I was angry.
Did you take it personally when Van Gundy called you a con man?
Yes. It rubbed me the wrong way then, and if I hear it now, it still rubs me the wrong way because that was never my intent. I mean, that to me is like attacking my basketball skills as a sense of saying, only way you win is you make these guys think that you like them. No, I actually do like them.
The number 5 thing they left out was Sonny Vaccaro. A lot of people were really upset when The Last Dance didn't include Sonny Vaccaro, who may be the reason that MJ signed with Nike. Now, according to Sonny, there would be no Jumpman, no Jordan brand without him. Jordan's agent says in The Last Dance, the reason he signed with Nike was that they would give Jordan his own signature shoe. David Falk, the agent, says he came up with the idea because he represented tennis stars. Adidas and Converse would not agree, but Nike did. Now, Sonny told a pretty different story in his own ESPN doc.
The next thing Nike had to do was get a signature athlete who was going to be a signature marketing icon. And I called my friend, George Raveling. I have to meet Michael Jordan. But then I looked at him and I talked about what we could do. We were going to name a shoe after you.
Okay, so did The Last Dance intentionally leave out Sonny Vaccaro to maybe give David Falk, Jordan's agent, credit for him signing with Nike? No, the bottom line was they interviewed Sonny Vaccaro, but his story was just different than David Falk's, than George Raveling, one of Michael Jordan's Olympic coaches, Michael Jordan's parents, and Michael. Everyone had a different story, but the thing that they all agreed on was that Michael's parents convinced him to get on that plane to visit Nike. And really the point of him signing with Nike was everything that happened afterward. They sold hundreds of millions in the first year. Sonny says he's responsible. Michael says George Raveling is responsible. The bottom line is MJ and Nike took over basketball culture. The 4th thing that The Last Dance left out was his teammates being the hero. The Last Dance was packed with stories about Michael Jordan kicking ass and coming through in the clutch. As it should be, he was badass. But once in a while, his teammates bailed him out. For example, the Bulls were down 15 heading into the 4th quarter against Portland in the 1992 finals. MJ sat on the bench while Scottie Pippen led them back. In the final 3 minutes 30 seconds, Pippen led a 14-2 Bulls run. He scored 11 of his 26 in the 4th quarter. Yeah, Jordan came in after that and scored 10 of the Bulls' last 12 points. But without Pippen and the rest of the Bulls, they would have been in trouble. All the doc showed was MJ being the hero and dominating Clyde Drexler. Another thing the film avoided was MJ's teammates saving him after the Atlantic City trip in 1993. Now, it did a great job of showing how much media attention was around his gambling trip before Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Bulls lost the next game, and MJ went 12 for 32. Chicago was down 2 games to none, and if it wasn't for Jordan's teammates, they would have been down 3 games to none. In Game 3, Jordan got to the free throw line a lot, but he was 3 for 18.
As Jordan works against Starks, went to the left hand.
Instead, Scottie Pippen was an efficient 10 for 12. John Paxson had 14 off the bench. B.J. Armstrong was good.
Armstrong. That was 2-point range.
The Last Dance focused on Michael Jordan being the hero and responding to the big bad media who were on him about his gambling trip, but his teammates deserve a lot of credit. The number 3 thing The Last Dance left out was the rest of the Scottie Pippen quitting on his team story. Pippen was, quote, hurt and wounded at how The Last Dance portrayed him. They focused on some of his worst moments, but didn't tell the entire story in this case. Pippen infamously quit on his team in the 1994 playoffs. Jordan was off playing baseball, and Pippen was upset that Tony Kukoc got the last shot in Game 3 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Pippen refused to go in the game, Kukoc hit the shot, and the Bulls won. It's a big hit on Pippen's character, but Pippen was so mad because Kukoc had messed up just the play before that. Kukoc didn't move off the ball, and it forced Pippen into taking a bad shot. He was obviously pissed at Kukoc for messing up that play. Then Phil Jackson says in his own book, Sacred Hoops, quote, I told Scottie what happened on the previous play didn't matter anymore. You had an opportunity to score, and it didn't work. I said, now we're gonna do something else. Okay, so Kukoc messes up the play before, hangs Scottie out to dry, and now Kukoc gets the final shot. It doesn't make what Scottie Pippen did okay, but that is kind of messed up. The other thing The Last Dance didn't mention is what happened in Game 5 of that series. Chicago led by 1 point with under 8 seconds to go. John Starks of the Knicks ran a pick and roll with Patrick Ewing, then passed it to Hubert Davis for an open J. Pippen jumped at him trying to contest the shot, and Hugh Hollins, the referee, called that a foul. The Bulls were upset because, yeah, there was contact, but it was way after Hubert Davis let go his shot. Plus, Davis kicked his leg out. Davis made both free throws. New York won by a single point. To this day, it is still known as one of the worst calls in NBA history. The NBA head of officiating even personally apologized to the Bulls that offseason. If that call wasn't made and the Bulls win that series, maybe they win a title and MJ's legacy would be a lot different. If Chicago wins a title that year while Jordan's playing baseball, his GOAT status comes under major fire. The number 2 thing they left out was the story of Scottie Pippen's trash talk. Another problem Pippen might have with The Last Dance is they left out his most badass moment. The mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays. How could they leave this out? Michael Jordan was known as a great trash talker, but the coldest line in Bulls history was by Scottie Pippen, and they just left it out. Late in Game 1 of the 1997 NBA Finals, Karl Malone was at the free throw line trying to help his team steal the win. The game was tied at 82 with under 10 seconds to play. The mailman went to the free throw line. He missed both free throws thanks to one timeless line from Scottie Pippen. Hey Karl, the mailman don't deliver on Sundays. Since The Last Dance left out such a great story, it's worth quickly hearing it from the man himself.
I had my brother in town. My brother was a postman. So Karl Malone is at the line. The game is on the line. And I was pretty good friends with Karl, actually. So I just walked by him and said, the mailman don't deliver on Sunday. And to this day, I think that's the greatest line in basketball.
It's
There would never be another mailman.
Absolutely.
But the number 1 thing that they left out of The Last Dance is Jordan's ex-wife, Juanita Vanoy. She was with MJ from the mid-'80s to the mid-2000s, through the entire timeline of this documentary, basically. Every time those cameras were off, she was there. I mean, they had family in the doc. His mom and brothers were all over the place. If we wanted a complete picture of Michael Jordan, his ex-wife should have been in it. And I guess that just proves it isn't a complete picture. Jordan had to agree to the documentary, and he probably didn't want to hear from her. They did get divorced after all. And truth be told, I don't really think we missed her. I hate to say it, but it's true. We love Jordan, the basketball player, not necessarily the family man. He may not have been great at home because he was married to the game. That is one thing we saw over and over in The Last Dance. We got a close-up of Jordan, the NBA GOAT, and that is what we wanted. I am not talking trash about The Last Dance here. I'm simply pointing out some things that I thought were interesting that were left out. And I get why they were left out. The director could have probably made like a 30-hour documentary with all the interviews and all the footage that he had. He had to make choices. And really, it doesn't change the big overall picture that MJ is the GOAT and The Last Dance was awesome. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.